I spend my nights under the stage lights, but after the applause, I'm back in my truck from my hometown dealer, Benoit Motors. The country roads of Louisiana are my soul, and Benoit Motors gets who I am and who we are. They are proud to be a dealership for the everyday American. Join me and become a member of their family. Benoit Motors. They're with you for all your life's big moments and all the miles in between.
Good evening, folks. Thanks for joining us this evening for the Lee Doty Coaches Show, brought to you by Benoit Ford and Farmerville. Appreciate Mr. Danny and Miss Monica Benoit and their support of Panther football. This is week one of our Coaches Show. We're so ready for football to get started. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Appreciate the folks that have come out to hang out with us here at the Frenchman's Bend Clubhouse. Thank you, Miss Bonnie, here at the clubhouse for taking care of us and getting all this set up. And, Coach, it's just good to be here and to get this thing started.
It's no doubt, seems like a fast turnaround since last year, but, everybody got a little time off, and kids worked really hard in the off season, but, everybody's excited to go again, no doubt about it.
Well, we're here, and, Coach, looking back at last season, I do want to take just a minute. It seems kind of crazy to start this season without at least taking a moment to acknowledge what you guys were able to accomplish last season. 15-0, 3A state champs. And I know you've had some time now. Folks asked you questions back in December, January, looking back. But now, kind of 8 months removed, what kind of, as you look back, what stands out to you about that season and that group of guys?
Well, I guess the first thing is our seniors, that graduated. What a great group of young men, guys I'd been with for 4 years, guys that bought in, and maybe all of them didn't buy in at first. But guys that bought in by the time they were seniors, the guys weren't selfish. I mean, they were great teammates. I think that's one of the things. The next thing is our coaching staff. We spent a lot of time together. We spent a lot of time at the field house. Just the rapport you get with people when you're working for the same goal. And we're all like brothers. And it's just awesome that we were able to build that relationship in the years prior and then, cap it off last year with that. And I think another thing is just how hard that is to do. And I told someone the other day, they was like, Coach, we're 15-0 and getting this year. And I was like, we've been playing football for 60-something years at Sterlington, and that's only happened once. Yeah. And it's been some really, really good football teams that's come through Sterlington. And, just an amazing season. The excitement in the dome, when we knocked the final pass down, the excitement afterwards, the build-up, the quarterfinal game, with Madison Prep, who I think still in my mind was the best team in 3A who didn't go to the dome.
Yeah.
And, Church Point in the semis and then, of course, the rematch with Union. But, just an exciting year, just seeing how our community came together to support our Panthers.
Yeah.
That was amazing. When you come out in the dome and, it's bad that everybody doesn't get to experience this. When you walk out with your team and come through the banner, you look up in the crowd and you just see all that blue. Yeah. And, those people screaming. And it's just an amazing feeling and, just something I'd really like to do again, just to be honest with you. So, but our kids enjoyed it, man. We had a great year. I can't let this go without saying the people that donated money to help us buy our state championship rings, just so appreciative of them guys. People reach down deep. Our kids, I think we bought 120 rings total. We didn't pay, our kids didn't have to pay anything for the rings. This community went to bat for them and raised money, and it didn't take us that long. We had it pretty quickly. So, just a heck of a year. Love to live through that again.
Yeah. And, Coach, it really seems like coming in even to this season, and we'll talk some about the offseason in a minute, that excitement from December has really carried over through the community, it seems like, as we've gotten things ready even for tonight and into the weekend show. Folks are wanting to buy into this. Like, there's just a different culture right now around Sterlington football. Community's always been a big part of this, but it seems like there's more folks buying in.
Well, it is. I think you're right about that. You know, we're excited about, you know, the fundraiser we had earlier this year. We did really good on that. The ticket sales are great. The other sales we had are really great. You know, it's a fun time to be a Panther right now. And you know, you and I talked about this the other day. You know, you create this machine, this monster type thing, and you hope you got enough ammunition or enough, you know, food stored up to feed it. Yeah. So you know, we're excited about it, and but yes, our community is excited. Our school seems to be excited, and I can assure you, our coaches and players are fired up.
Absolutely. Well, again, congrats on that big season last year, and now we turn the page to this season. Tonight we're going to kick off by having our McDonald's team captains and senior spotlight. Every week we will have a segment sponsored by McDonald's. Miss Jennifer Thomas is here, and she'll be recognizing a couple of our seniors and then also our team captains for this week's game. And so, Coach, let's go ahead and recognize those guys and get Miss Jennifer up here.
Sure, Miss Jennifer, I know that she don't like this. I want to ask her to come on up. I really, really appreciate McDonald's. This is the second yearly partnership with us and doing the senior spotlight, and our senior spotlight that we do at our coaches show is our captains for this week, and she does a great job with that. I mean, I just can't tell you how much she means to this team and everything. So very excited. This week's captains in our McDonald's senior spotlight is number 6 Maddox Bryan and number 9 John Barr. If you guys will come on up. And looks like we've
little swag bag.
Man, we've upped our game a little bit, I believe. Looks really good. You know, Maddox is plays safety for us. Maddox has worked hard. He's worked really hard, especially for this year. I mean, he understands that this is it, and we're counting on him big time. And he's just a great guy. I mean, I want good things to happen for him because he works good and he works hard in the classroom. He makes good grades, and somebody's going to pick him up and they're going to get a heck of a player.
Yeah, and Coach, he makes a mean pizza. Mean pizza.
I'm sure he does. And everything he does, I guarantee he puts a lot of effort in it. So, and then Maddox is John Barr here is returning for us as well. John, both of these guys have played with us for 4 years, you know, and John had a big year last year. He's got a couple of offers already, and you know, he's a guy that can go up and get it, and he's also a guy who can run right by you. And, you know, looking for big things out of him this year. And another guy, the 4.0 guy, classroom. Yeah. And, you know, we took him over to the little press conference. And, you know, these guys, both of these guys, you know, I can go ahead and tell you, you know, they are all conference. They may be all NELA. They may be all Ouachita or all state. But I can guarantee you about all of our guys and these two right here, they're always all Sterlington.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're so proud of them and looking for big things out of both of them. Thank you, guys. Let's give them a big hand.
Coach, it's interesting as you say that, and I hadn't have this on our notes, but, you know, I think I've heard you talk about our kids' performance in the classroom numerous times over the last several weeks. And our kids perform on the field. You've got the trophies and the banners now hanging. But, man, their performance in the classroom, I think, speaks volumes to the culture that's been created here at Sterlington.
Well, you know, we want them to be students first and then athletes second, just like it says student athletes. And, you know, we believe we provide a good base foundation in our program, some discipline, some encouragement, you know, some standards that we set with our guys. And, you know, either you're going to buy in or you're not going to be there very long. And but, you know, grades and your behavior in school, all those things tie in because whether you want to be or not, you know, if you're a football player, you're a leader. And, if you're going in and setting up in front of the classroom and you're doing things you're supposed to, I'm going to say 90% of the rest of the classroom is going to fall in line. But if you're in there and you're acting like a clown, then, you're leading the circus now. So we'd rather, lead the other way. And we talk to our kids about this and check grades and do everything. And, we have some that fall through the cracks, and, that's sad. But, we try to do our best with it, and our kids really bought in on this too.
Yeah, well, no doubt. Hats off to you guys for that and those students for that accomplishment. Well, Coach, let's talk about some football. That's what everybody's kind of watching for tonight. Love recognizing those guys. But you mentioned as we started tonight how good of a summer you guys had, and some folks may not know this, but you don't really have spring training anymore. Kind of have, don't do the spring game and all that. I know you guys did training in the off season, but really you do that so that you can start this fall a little early. You get a little bit of a 2-week jump or a 1-week jump.
Well, it's a 1-week jump.
1 week.
There's several reasons we don't do spring. Our participation in other spring sports are so high. I think Coach Sims has 25 baseball players. Well, I think 20 of them's going to play football.
Right.
And track, we have a whole bunch of our kids that run track and encourage them. So we want them guys to go and participate in that, and so far so good. It's worked out good for us.
Yeah, and of course those guys pretty successful in both of those areas. Well, Coach, as you guys came into the fall, we talked about last season, and you did lose a good group of seniors, guys that had bought in. I think about guys like Luke Handy, Bryce Lark, Armad Mills, and the list goes on, Peyton Park Smith, and I think we could talk about numerous other guys. But as you've come into the fall and kind of begun to get your bearings a little bit, what were some of the positions or places that you saw were going to be a challenge, and then how have you seen some of these kids step up to fill some of those challenges so far?
Well, I think, you start in the defensive backfield. We always like to have 5 guys who can play those 4 positions, and we graduated 3 of those last year. And, we've had some people step up and in those spots, and, we need reps. We got to play some games to get as good as we need to be back there. We lost 2 of our outside linebackers, and both of these guys could really run.
Right.
There is a speed difference in what we have now. Once you play with Luke Handy and Chase Mitchell's speed, it's everybody seems slow. And
yeah.
So, we're scheming around that. Of course, we got our middle backer back, Jackson, and that's always good to have that base. And defensively, our defensive line, I thought we lost one of the best guys in the state, in Caleb Andrews. But we've had some people step up in there, and, I think we'll be fine. Kicker and punter.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't replace that guy.
The 3A state championship MVP.
Yeah, I mean, you can't replace that guy. But I can tell you what, I think we went out and did the best we could, and I think we did pretty good.
Absolutely.
And I think, Aiden is going to be a tremendous weapon for us. And so then, you look on, we lost some linemen, but we felt good about our linemen. We had some depth there, and we felt good about our offensive line. And those guys got better against Neville the other night. You could tell a big difference in them and then the scrimmage. And, your fullback situation with, Bryce and Hatfield, I mean, to have those 2 guys in the same class, just wish one of them would have held back, and we could have that guy this year. But, Brody and Cody has done a good job. They're going to be fine in there. And, Trammell, it'll be our starter this year. We can get him back healthy. But right now, Jacob Breen is playing that role for us. And but, we lost Jay Miller, and he turned into be one heck of a running back, So we had a lot of things to fill. We lost 21 seniors last year, and I can tell you all 21 of them filled a role for us.
Right.
So lots to replace and lots to work on, and it's still a work in progress.
Yeah, well, Coach, we talked about a moment ago just the big season last year, undefeated. You mentioned it only happened once in 60 years, but you've got some kids that were a part of that. You got some new kids who coming up from the junior high that are wanting to be a part of that. So as you've tried to focus those guys in on what's the task at hand this year, what's been your message to them? How do you help them kind of focus in on, hey, that was last year, we enjoyed it, it was incredible, but man, this is a new team, new story?
Well, I think, we talked enough about that in the weight room once we got back in January that we haven't had to mention it a whole lot. our kids understand. And a lot of these guys, our seniors last year played in the Dome as freshmen. A lot of these guys have been on 2 baseball state championship teams. And so, we had a lot of guys returning, and those guys know. Those guys know that you don't live off last year's team. And, maybe the parents do, or maybe the community may be. But,
right.
Our kids know that, Ahmad Mills is not out there anymore saving touchdowns. Somebody else has got to do that. So I think we've done a good job. I think our kids have done a really good job with that.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, as we get ready to talk, let's talk schedule, into the fall. I know this year's schedule looks a little different, probably raised some eyebrows when you guys finally released what the 10-game schedule was going to do. Of course, you knew you had 3 openings on the front end. You got a larger district this year with teams like Bastrop and North Webster added to the mix. You got a week 9 that was open, so you had to add, 4 non-district games. What went into landing on the opponents that you chose, the guys that said yes, and what were the challenges in getting that done? Because I think you and I talked about this yesterday. I've heard you mention, I've heard Coach Arledge over at West Monroe mention, Jeff Tannehill has mentioned, Jared Ball at Ruston. It seems like everybody's just saying, man, the schedule's so different, and everybody's having the same challenge. But what are those challenges to getting people on the schedule year to year?
Well, you got Mangum and Oak Grove. We had week 2 and week 3 last week, and right after both of those games, we all agreed to play another cycle. So I really had to worry about 1 and 9, and we searched for 1 and did a lot of calling, and it just wasn't a whole lot of folks out there. A lot of people have week 1 games that's who they play all the time. Yeah. When you start looking for week 1, and we had we've tried to find that week 1, a local team. Some teams don't want to play you week 1. They want to play week 2 because they want to play somebody they can beat week 1. That's words out of their coach's mouth.
Right.
But most folks have that week 1 rivalry, and it was really hard to find. And, we reached out into Texas and, everywhere looking. And then, I heard Coach Arledge and them were having trouble filling the schedule, and we got together, and, it worked out for both of us. And I got to thinking, man, going to Texas, we're going to drive right by West Monroe. And I thought, hey, this is good for us. This is good for our kids to go over there and play in that environment, and it'd be good for our folks to go oversee it, and it's good for a whole bunch of things. I won't get into all the reasons it's good, but when we leave there, we're going to be a better football team than when we walked in, and we'll be battle tested, and we come out of there healthy, and then we should get ready to go after that. Week 9. Another one that's almost impossible to find, but a meet is someone I tried to schedule week 1. Yeah. When we were looking, and I saw on Twitter or something they had week 9, and I called Coach Powell, and he was like, "Man, that's a long way." And I said, "It sure is, but we'll come down there one time too." So. Anyway, them guys, they'll play anybody, anywhere, anytime. Yeah. And of
course, the meet being the 2A defending, I guess not defending. They won't get to defend it now. Right. They're up in 3A. But
he's not going. That's what I told him. I said, man, you're not going to find. Perryville High School is not going to play you either. Right. So, it just worked out. It's hard scheduling because you got to think about money. Yeah. What kind of crowd they're going to bring. You need to think about PowerPoints. Does it do you any good to schedule a 0-10 team and you win? No, it doesn't. You may lose PowerPoints. You go down. So it's a whole lot of things. Is it a nice place for our folks to go? Is it a safe place? It's just a whole lot that goes into scheduling. So lucky we filled 10 games, just to be honest with you.
Well, it looks like a lot of fun on the schedule and a lot of challenges that hopefully our guys will meet. Well, folks, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk what happened at the Jamboree. We'll talk West Monroe, and it gets you guys set for Friday night. We'll take a quick break. Be right back in just a moment with the Lee Doty Coaches Show, brought to you by Benoit Ford.
I spend my nights under the stage lights, but after the applause, I'm back in my truck from my hometown dealer, Benoit Motors. The country roads of Louisiana are my soul, and Benoit Motors gets who I am and who we are. They are proud to be a dealership for the everyday American. Join me and become a member of their family. Benoit Motors. They're with you for all your life's big moments and all the miles in between.
Well, folks, welcome back to the Lee Doty Coaches Show, brought to you by Benoit Ford in Farmerville. And, Coach, let's talk kind of what happened last week, and then, of course, we'll talk West Monroe in just a moment. But you guys, we talked about the schedule you did, the Jamboree. We'd played in the Bayou Jam numerous years, and really you changed the format this year with some things with Coach Tannehill and able to go down to Neville and really made a whole evening of it with the junior high and all those things happening. From a fan's perspective and just a guy that loved football, it seemed like a great success for you guys. What were kind of your thoughts on the environment before we talk about the game itself?
First of all, I just really appreciate Neville for hosting that thing. Man, there was a lot of people there. Our 7th grade, 8th grade, young kids and varsity all got to play, and that was a big selling point but with me and Jeff. I didn't want to ride – just to be honest with you, I didn't want to ride all the way to Louisiana Tech and play 2 12-minute quarters. I didn't want our community to have to pay $15 to watch that. And I love Louisiana Tech. It ain't about that, at all. But we just felt like it was a better way to do it.
Yeah.
And Jeff and I got together. Jeff and I have known each other now for 7, 8 years. We've competed against each other, and, we got a lot of respect for each other. We run ideas off each other. We talk a lot of things football, but we talk a lot of things that ain't football. And we just thought it was a perfect match for the North Monroe and Sterlington community. And based on what I seen in the stands on both sides, yeah, I agree that it was.
Yeah. The traffic coming home from Neville said that there was nobody left here. I don't know what businesses did here on Thursday night, but there wasn't much left in town for sure. Well, Coach, let's talk about the actual game itself. Of course, a great environment, just getting to go to Neville with all their history, tradition, kind of similar to what we'll see this Friday night at West Monroe. But now that you guys as coaches have kind of looked back at the film, I know you got your kids together on Friday and looked, what were some of the positives you guys took away, both offense, defense, and special teams?
I just thought how hard we played. We competed and played really hard, played with a lot of effort, was not intimidated by the environment at all. Just seemed to kind of absorb it and just kind of feed off of it. So, first time out, honestly, I couldn't be any happier with our effort. Those are the positives. I think the negatives is you could really tell the rain. We didn't get to condition a whole lot.
Yeah.
Toward the end of the second half there, you could tell we were winded, and it also really showed the lack of depth that we've created so far. In my opinion, we're going to work on that, and we'll have some before the season's over, but they were able to run some guys in and out, and Jeff made a comment they played a lot of guys, and we really didn't play as many as I'd like to, but it was a heck of an environment. The finish was amazing. Our crowd was amazing.
Yeah.
And it was just really good. I'm looking forward to going over there next year. And but man, what a money maker, what a money maker. So
yeah, and you run it down to the wires like that, people want to see it again.
Yeah, I'm sure that we won't have any trouble selling tickets next year. But like I said again, talked with Mickey after the game. Coach McCarty, the principal there now, and Jeff, and just they did a great job. Talked with some people in the stands. They felt safe going in and out, and that's always good to have a place like that to go, because there were so many jamborees and things over the state of Louisiana that, wasn't very good.
Right.
Wasn't good atmosphere. So just appreciate them and doing such a good job. And, man, I appreciate our people for coming out. And it was a fun time.
Yeah. Well, Coach, you mentioned a moment ago we were talking just about newcomers and things, and you mentioned the new kicker, Aiden Parker. Of course, Aiden rolls out there in the first quarter or first half and kicks the 39-yarder for you to put us on the board 3-0, and then booms a punt. And I was talking to him and Jacob Green on the sidelines, and I said, Aiden, I watched Jacob for 4 years, and his first punt wasn't that good. And so kind of got a chuckle on that. But just talk about Aiden and kind of progression. I know when he first showed up on campus, you could tell he could kick a little bit, but did you realize the range on that going into the game, that 39 yards was well within what he could do?
Well, I'd like to tell you that when he got on campus, I coached him up, and
I believe that.
But he'd never punted before, and we told him that basically, if you're gonna kick here, you got to punt. I mean, that's been set, and so he started working on his punting game too, and he got one off, and Aiden's a guy that's just a sophomore. I mean, he's going to continue to get better. But right now, and I think he'll tell you this with punting, I mean, it's a little feast or famine. Either we're going to boom a 53-yarder or we're going to shank one. And it's just he's got to get those reps to get more comfortable in his drop and his form and everything. But when you watch him at practice, when he does everything right, it's a D1 leg.
Yeah.
And but yeah, we knew he had range. He hit a 47-yarder last week in practice, and he's got plenty of range. He's got plenty of leg, and honestly, he's got a lot of savvy. And I like him, and boy, I'm glad we got him.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, just looking at your lineup and you filled a lot of those holes. We've talked about some of those newcomers. Is there anybody going forward that you just like, man, this season, these are some guys that we need to keep our eyes on and that we need big things from? Like, who would be some of those spotlight guys you saw in the Jamboree or hoping to see even going forward?
Well, I think our linebacker play, has got to continue to improve. I thought we improved from the scrimmage to the jam. If we can improve as much from the jam to week one, we'll be okay. But with the defensive line we have, and they're good, we got a good defensive line, and they're going to be really good in 3A. But you can't waste that defensive line with bad linebacker play. And of course, I'm the defensive coach right now, and that's a big thing for me. And I think we got to make sure our fullbacks on offense continue to grow and get better. Last year I didn't mention this. We lost 2 tight ends.
Yeah.
Both of them were really good, and so we got a sophomore and McNair that's going to play. McCarthy, who's a transfer in from St. Fred's, is our other tight end. In our offense, those guys have got to be good.
Yeah.
And, McCarthy didn't play tight end there. Brennan's a sophomore, so that's a work in purpose. But there again, we got a really good interior line, and we can't waste it with bad fullback or bad tight end play.
Yeah.
So I think those are positions to watch, and, as we move forward, how much better do we get?
Yeah. Well, Coach, I know it was just a Jamboree, but getting out of there with a win, it did feel a bit like a playoff game there towards the end with the way the crowd reacted and things. Of course, Barr's 80-yard run kind of sealed the deal before your defense was able to kind of shut the door on them. So a great kind of launch to the season, but you do come into this week, and you told your guys before they took the field, win or lose in a Jamboree, you're 0-0 this week. So we're kicking it off, and you mentioned that schedule. We're going to kick it off in a way. As a guy that graduated from Sterlington, I'll go ahead and tell you, Coach, I did not ever think I'd see the day where Sterlington would walk into Rebel Stadium for a football game. We might go play checkers. We might go for a rally. But I don't know that I saw that we'd ever roll over there and play a football game. But, man, you guys have put in the work and watched some things. West Monroe for so long in our area, and I think this is still true, talking tradition and things, is they've always kind of been the best of the best in this area. You and I talked about their district run. I mean, 102-1 over the last 103 ball games. I mean, that's an incredible district run. And they've got success over there and facilities to back that up. I mean, I think I heard somebody say today there's an elevator in the field house, and that's different than what we know. But 3A versus 5A, a lot of hype around this in the community. I know you've been asked questions for the last couple of weeks about this. They are a much larger school, but what kind of challenge does the numbers that they bring to the table present to you guys as you go over there and play Friday night?
Well, first of all, let me just tell you, I have a lot of respect. Our whole coaching staff does. I mean, I talked with Coach Arledge Sunday, and just reiterated, the district, the accomplishment that they've had. And they've lost one ninth grade game in the last 30 years. One in the last 30 years. That's just amazing to me because they're not playing – I mean, they're playing good people.
Right.
And just to be honest with you, I just don't think that'll ever be duplicated. I mean, I just don't think nobody will ever win like that again. And so, yeah, it's a big deal for us to go over there. And, the numbers situation, it is what it is. They had 2,400 students in school in 9 through 12. We have about 550.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, if you look at it, and that means that us, OCS, Neville, St. Fred's, and Carroll all would have to consolidate to get to that number. So I take them guys and make a football team and go anywhere, I promise you. So, I mean, that's how many schools would have to combine on this side of the river to have that number.
Yeah.
And if you think about how many good football players there are at those other four schools.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's going to make a difference. People tell me, well, you can only play 11 at a time, and that's true. It's a depth thing, We want to get in that thing fourth quarter and have that sucker close and see what happens. But we'll play more kids this week than we did last week. We got some kids that we're able to get coached up a little bit that we can go in and give us some reps. And we're not asking anybody to go in and play a quarter, but, we got to do a good job of subbing people out and in and out and just getting 2 or 3 reps off.
Yeah.
And we can't wait till the third quarter to do that. We got to do it early. And so we're going to be fine, man. We're excited about it. I think our kids are excited. I think, that the numbers thing is something to worry about, but we'll see about that. We just got to do a better job as coaches.
Well, Coach, as we go into Rebel Stadium on Friday night, I don't know this to be true, but I've talked to some guys, and I think it's a true statement. It very well could be one of the largest crowds, environments that we've ever played in, including the Dome, just the size of Rebel Stadium. I know they have a lot of, I don't mean any disrespect by this, I don't know what else to call it, pomp and circumstance that kind of goes around the build-up. They're recognizing the 2022 baseball state champion before the game kicks off. So just a lot of things go on. And as you think about your team stretching, warming up, getting ready to take the field in that environment, how has that kind of shaped your approach to what you're going to do on Friday night, even before kickoff?
Well, I mean, we talked about it the other day, yesterday, about, all the pregame stuff, and it's tradition. It's just tradition. It's what they do. And, we talked about 5 yards at West Monroe Stadium, being 5 yards at Panther Stadium. It's 5 yards, it's 5 yards. And to focus on what's going on between the lines and don't let what's happening outside of the lines influence you. Well, I think it may be the biggest crowd ever that Sterlington's ever played in front of. I don't know. But I tell you what, if the environment over there is better than our quarterfinal game last year or our semifinal game, I'm excited. I'm really excited about going because coaches like to coach in those type of environments too. I mean, players are not the only ones. Fans like to be in that. But I can promise you, our guys, our Panther Nation, the Panther fans, they'll be loud too. And West Monroe, I don't know how many times anybody comes in there that they faced that's going to be like our fans.
There we go.
So, it works both ways.
Yeah. Well, Coach, and one of the things I've answered, I talked to Aaron Dietrich and Jake Martin about this this week. One of the things I've loved, having had a front row seat for the last 8 years to Panther football, is we have not shied away from big moments. In 2016, you go down to Manny, and Manny has an environment that's supposed to be intimidating. And I'll never forget Coach Thompson holding our guys in the locker room while the fireworks all went off, and this big intimidation moment doesn't happen. But our guys handle the big moments. You 17, you're moving up to 3A, and you make the run there. You compete, you win the district, and then it seems like every year there's been these big challenges that that lesser teams would have shied away from. But you guys have created a culture where we don't shy away from the big moment. And you're absolutely right. Between the lines, it is what it is, and you play football. And I think it's a great opportunity for our kids, without a doubt. But let's talk about the actual game for just a few minutes. West Monroe's offense, obviously very familiar to us, kind of the way that they approach things. I know they've got a new offensive coordinator, but even last week looking at their jam, seems like they're going to just be West Monroe, which we know something about because that's kind of the way we play football. We're going to be who we are and not let the other folks dictate what we do. But when you looked at the film this week, what stands out to you about what you saw from their personnel and their scheme on offense?
Well, they're big up front, and very big up front. And, those guys were physical. And, they had some bad luck offensively. You put it on the ground 4 times, you're not going to beat anybody, a 2A team or 3A or 1A. It's just not going to happen, especially in a 2-quarter game. Yeah. And, I want to give a little credit to Ruston, too. They're pretty good defensively. But, they run some veer. They run a little bit of one-back stuff. And, I don't know where they're going to settle. I don't know if they're going to look, we're going to be a veer team. We're just going to marry it and we're going to get better at it, or we're going to let Federico do his thing and go to the spread. And I just don't know. That's worrisome because you'd almost rather them had some success, a whole lot of success in something. Yeah. Where you could say, okay, this is probably what they're going to stick with. So, but yeah, man, execution wise, they just had some mishaps offensively. I mean, they had some good things going. Federico, I think, throws the ball really well. I think once he gets his feet set, he's very accurate. We can't let him just sit back there and pick us apart. So the backs, they're physical, and I don't, they got a big-time receiver, but, we do too. Yeah. So I think it's going to be very interesting how we can stop their offense. Yeah, well, you mentioned the physicality of their running backs. I know their leading tackler is now at tailback for them, so you'd expect toughness from a 5A, starting linebacker. And he is tough, and they're tough. Yeah. West Monroe's tough. I mean, they coming out. They're back. I'm sure they feel like their back's against the wall because everybody says this and that and the other. Yeah. But last year they were a 3-point overtime loss away from beating the state champs. Right. So like I said, they're going to be good, man. They're going to be coached up. They're going to be good on special teams, and offensively they'll be better. They kind of got me scratching my head right now. Yeah. Well, again, you mentioned that last week in their Jamboree, really not a lot of offensive snaps. So really, for this year's West Monroe team, you haven't really been able to see a lot of things on film. No, not really at all. And so I know that almost everything I've seen on film, they're going to be a whole lot better at next week. Yeah. Well, Coach, for the defensive side of West Monroe, of course, that's been the one side of the football that I think has been the place they've hung their hat. Of course, Coach Arledge for so many years was the DC over there. So what kind of challenge when you see that, because you did have a lot of snaps for that on film, what are the challenges they present to us from their defense? Well, they move a lot up front, a lot of stems, a lot of slants. They played about 7 people up front that are really good. So they got some depth on their defensive line. Their linebackers are rangy looking, long, tall kids. Their secondary is new. I think they got one starter back there. And, of course, the fullback and the tailback this year started at linebacker for them last year. So, but look, I expect that we'll see number 1 and number 8 on defense. I really do. I think they'll put them over there where they just alternate them at one of the linebacker positions. I'll be surprised if those guys are not playing both ways. Yeah. The big green kid, number 81, he played, he played in the Jamboree, played some tight end, but played mainly defense. I think he's another two-way player. Number 7, who is a fantastic athlete. I don't see how they're just going to leave him at receiver. Right. So I think we'll see a lot of different people. Yeah. So, and that presents a challenge in itself. So, but it's been a it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to it, and I do think it's a game that for you, man, getting your kids exposed to that environment, to those type of games, can do nothing but breed fruit down the road for you. Well, Coach, for our fans who are here tonight or going to be watching online, any words you just say, hey, to our community, to our fans that are watching or be listening to this later?
Well, I really appreciate our community. It's been fantastic to me. It's been fantastic to the Panther football team. Like I said the other night at Neville, we packed it out, man. I always go back to last year's Westlake game, a second-round playoff game at a place that's not easy to get to. There's nothing in the Lake Charles area that's easy to get to.
Right.
But, we rolled in there, and when we came out for the game, I would venture to say we had more people there than they had.
Yeah.
So we appreciate the support. I mean, our kids really do appreciate that. And, we're going to try and work hard and put a really good product on the field. We're working to get in shape. Last week really hurt us, not having somewhere to go and really run and get into shape. And you have a 30-minute window to practice in. Well, conditioning and the special teams usually get left behind.
Right.
You're just trying to get out there and learn how to line up. So I think this week, today the heat jumped on us pretty good. So that'll help us for Friday night. So we're really a work in progress. And but I'm going to tell you, I feel like by week 7, we're going to be getting after it pretty good. And, of course, everything is all about, who's hurt and who's not hurt. But that's part of the game, and we've learned to live with that. But I think we're going to have a good football team. I'm very, very happy with these guys and their work ethic. And if you could just spend some time with them sometimes outside of football and just talk with them, you'd understand what a great group of young men that we have,
Yeah.
And so they're special, man. They're special. And but I really appreciate our community and, everybody else involved with this. And I think we're going to have a really good football team.
Well, Panther fans, this Friday night, Sterlington versus West Monroe kickoff is set for 7 p.m. at Rebel Stadium. If you can't make it, you can catch us on YouTube. Just search for SHS Panther Football, or you can go to shspantherfootball.com and you'll find the links there to click. Pre-game show will start about 6:15. They'll re-air this show, and then about 6:50, myself and William Handy and Chris Sturtevant will be on the air getting you set for kickoff. And hope that you'll go to that website that I mentioned a moment ago. Check out, there'll be highlight videos, hype videos, all those things all season long, bringing you all things Panther football. And you can find all the links for those things there. But, again, we appreciate Benoit Ford sponsoring our coaches show this week. And, Coach, any final words before we wrap this up?
Well, we appreciate all you coming. Hope to see you there Friday night. And, as always, go Panthers.
Panther fans, have a great night. Hope to see you Friday night. If not, we'll catch you next week right back here at the Frenchman's Bend Clubhouse for the Coaches Show. Have a great night. Go Panthers.
I spend my nights under the stage lights, but after the applause, I'm back in my truck from my hometown dealer, Benoit Motors. The country roads of Louisiana are my soul, and Benoit Motors gets who I am and who we are. They are proud to be a dealership for the everyday American. Join me and become a member of their family. Benoit Motors. They're with you for all your life's big moments and all the miles in between.
This broadcast is copyrighted by Empire Media and Management. Any unauthorized reproduction is strictly prohibited.